September 18th, 1966, Westchester County, New York. 3 years after walking out of Alcatraz, Bumpy Johnson was the most dangerous man in Harlem again. Not because he had the most soldiers, not because he had the biggest gun, because he was the only man in New York who could talk to the Italians like an equal and walk away alive. Tonight, 15 of the most powerful mob bosses in America were gathering in a mansion an hour north of the city. They thought they were meeting to decide Harlem's fate. They didn't know they were also deciding their own. This is the story of the night Bumpy Johnson walked into a commission meeting and destroyed the Mafia without firing a shot. The rain hadn't stopped in 12 hours. Lenox Avenue shone like black glass, streetlights and neon signs smearing themselves across puddles with every passing car. A bus roared through the intersection, throwing up a wave that slapped against the curb and soaked the shoes of a man who swore loudly at no one in particular. Inside Small's paradise, the noise was thick and warm. Glasses clinked. Laughter rolled. A live band squeezed themselves onto the small stage, horns punching through the cigarette smoke, bass line steady as a heartbeat. 3 floors above the music, in an office that smelled of cigar smoke, books, and old money, Bumpy Johnson sat alone at his desk, playing chess with himself. The Black King hid in the corner behind a wall of pawns. The White Queen owned the center. Everything on the board said the same thing. The black side had survived too long. Its time was running out. Bumpy picked up a knight, turned it slowly between his fingers, then set it down on a different square than before. The door opened without a knock. Illinois. Gordon stepped in, tall, dark suit, tie neat, eyes wired with bad news. "Got a visitor," Illinois said. "Bill collector?" Bumpy asked, not looking up from the board. "Worse? Doesn't look broke enough to be a bill collector. White, expensive coat. Smells like out of town and trouble." "Did you frisk the trouble?" Illinois's mouth twitched. "Twice? He's clean. But his hands shake like a man who just met God or the police." "Send the coat in," Bumpy said. Illinois disappeared. A moment later, the visitor stepped in. Short, round, good hat, good suit, bad nerves. Sweat clung to his forehead despite the September humidity having eased off a little. On his right hand, a gold pinky ring with a black stone. Old Italian money. He closed the door behind him and took off his hat like he was walking into church. "Mr. Johnson," he said. Bumpy moved one more piece on the board, then finally looked up. "That depends who's asking." "My name's Petroni. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Carlo Gambino." The sound in the room changed. The jazz downstairs felt more distant. The hum of the neon sign outside seemed louder. Gambino, the quiet shark, the man who'd survived the fall of one boss after another, Luciano, Anastasia, Genovese, by never raising his voice and never missing an opportunity. Bumpy gestured toward the chair across from him. "You came a long way for a conversation you could have had on the phone." Petrone sat down like the chair might break under a wrong word. "Mr. Gambino is hosting a gathering, an important one." "What kind of gathering needs you to sweat on my floor?" Petrone swallowed, wiped his forehead with a folded handkerchief. "Members of the commission will be there, representatives of the 5 families, some out-of-town guests, Chicago, Buffalo, New Jersey. They want to discuss business." "What kind of business touches Harlem?" Bumpy asked. Petrone hesitated. The heroin trade, the numbers, the policy banks, the clubs. Mr. Gambino believes Harlem should be represented. Bumpy's eyes flattened. Harlem is represented, he said, by me, every day, on every corner. That's exactly why he wants you there. Illinois, leaning against the wall, shifted. A dozen Italians running every racket from Vegas to Jersey, and suddenly they remember Harlem has a voice? Forgive me if that sounds less like respect and more like a firing squad asking where you want to stand. Petrone forced a smile that never made it past his teeth. Mr. Gambino wants a neutral voice, someone who isn't Sicilian, who can calm things down. The Colombos want a bigger slice of the streets. The Lucchese's want more trucks in Harlem. There's tension. Mr. Gambino thinks you can help mediate. "Since when do I work for free as a marriage counselor?" Bumpy asked. Petrone's hand shook again. The ring caught the lamplight. "Mr. Johnson, they already counted you in. Your name is on the list. If you don't go, they'll call it disrespect," Bumpy finished. "And men who feel disrespected stop sending invitations. They send funerals." Petrone nodded once. The relief of not having to say it out loud loosened his shoulders a fraction. Bumpy leaned back in his chair and let the silence spread, filling the room, pressing against Petrone's lungs. Outside, a siren wailed in the distance, then faded. "Where?" Bumpy asked. "An estate in Westchester, private, secure, Sunday night." "Who else is going?" Bumpy asked. Petrone started counting on his fingers. From the city, Gambino, Lucchese, Colombo, some capos from Genovese's people, even though he's upstate, a couple of Jersey guys, maybe someone from Philadelphia, maybe someone from Detroit. I don't have every name. And I'm the only man from Harlem. "Yes?" Bumpy studied him. "You believe what you're saying?" he asked. Petrone blinked. "What do you mean? You think this is about peace? About understanding?" Bumpy leaned forward. "Or you think this is about them wanting to sit me in a room far away from my people, my streets, my protection, and remind me who they think owns New York?" Petrone's throat worked. His voice shrank. "I just deliver messages, Mr. Johnson." Bumpy watched him for a long second, then nodded. Decision made. "Go home, Mr. Petrone. Tell Mr. Gambino I'll be there." Petrone sagged with relief. He stood up too quickly, the chair almost tipping behind him. "Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Gambino will feel whatever he feels." Bumpy cut him off. "But he won't feel surprised when I walk through his door. That's all that matters." Petrone clutched his hat like a life raft, nodded, and hurried out. Illinois waited until the door clicked shut. "Boss, this ain't right." "Nothing ever is," Bumpy said. "A commission sit down with a black man at the table?" Illinois shook his head. "They didn't invite you for your opinion. They invited you for your funeral." Bumpy looked down at the board. The Black King was still in the corner, trapped behind his own men. He picked it up, moved it out into the middle of the board. "How many times I tell you, Illinois," he said. "Men like Gambino don't play checkers. They just think they do." He moved a pawn 2 squares forward. If somebody invites you into a game they think they understand, that just means they haven't met you yet. That night, Bumpy didn't sleep. He read. Not books this time. Paper, files, reports, typed pages with black bars where names had been, Polaroids of meetings in smoky restaurants, surveillance notes on Gambino, Lucchese, their lieutenants. On his desk sat a small black box, no bigger than a pack of cigarettes. Next to it lay a thin wire, a tiny microphone at the end. Across from him, a white man in an FBI suit sat very still, as if sudden movements might spook the entire room. "State of the art," the agent said. "We've tested it. It works through cloth. Battery gives you 4 hours." Bumpy turned the transmitter over in his hand. "I'm supposed to walk into a house full of men who pat down their own mothers," he said, "and trust that they don't find this?" "If they find it," the agent said, "you can say you took it off someone else, a Fed, a cop, one of our informants. The room will eat itself alive trying to guess who." Bumpy gave him a long, flat look. "I don't make a habit of betting my life on white men's improvisation," he said. The agent met his eyes. There was sweat at his hairline. He swallowed. "You asked us for leverage," he said. "You said you wanted something you could hold over them forever. This is it. One recording of the commission talking openly about heroin, murder, the politicians they own." "How many years you think that buys them?" Bumpy asked. "Enough to change the board," the agent said. "Enough that Gambino will decide it's cheaper to leave Harlem alone than find out how many copies you made." Bumpy placed the device on the desk. "You wire me up," he said quietly. "I'm not your informant. I'm not your boy. I'm not your cooperator. I'm a contractor. One job, one night, in exchange." "In exchange," the agent said, "we close 3 open investigations on your people. We stop leaning on your numbers banks. We stop sending your kids to prison for dime bags while letting the Italian suppliers walk." "And Harlem?" Bumpy asked. The agent hesitated. "And Harlem," he said, "becomes less of a priority." Bumpy smiled without humor. "For you," he said, "this is a case. For me, this is church. You understand?" "I understand you want protection," the agent said. "No," Bumpy corrected. "I want respect. Protection you can drag away with a budget cut. Respect is different. Respect means when Gambino looks south, he sees a wall he doesn't want to climb." He tapped the wire. "If this fails," he said, "if something goes wrong, if I die, that tape doesn't vanish in some cabinet in Washington. It hits the front page of every paper in the country." The agent nodded. Bumpy leaned forward. "And one more thing," he said. "You never say I was there. You never say my name. I don't exist on your paper. This is between me and them. The government doesn't get to write my story." The agent exhaled slowly. "Deal." Sunday afternoon, the sky over Harlem was the color of old nickel. Not quite silver, not quite gray. Somewhere in between, the black Cadillac slid through the streets like it owned them. Kids on the corner stopped their dice games to watch it pass. Old-timers on stoops paused mid-sentence. Inside, the air smelled of leather, cigarette smoke, and tension. Marcus sat in the front passenger seat, tie a little too tight, eyes flicking to every mirror every few seconds. Big Willie drove, hands steady on the wheel, jaw working on the toothpick between his teeth. In the back, Bumpy watched the world he'd built slide by. "You keep looking in that mirror like that," Willie said to Marcus. "You gon' see the devil and crash this car." Marcus forced a laugh that died fast. "Boss," he said, still looking at the road. "You sure about this?" "If I wasn't sure," Bumpy said, "I wouldn't be going." "It's the commission," Marcus said. "They don't invite guys like us, not to talk." "They don't invite guys like us at all," Willie said. "That's the point. You make enough noise in one neighborhood, Sooner or later, the landlord wants a meeting. Marcus glanced in the rear view. "You ever been in a room like that, Willie?" he asked. Willie snorted. "Kid, I've been in rooms in Sicily where the only English word anyone knew was kill. But this?" He shook his head. "This is worse. Here, they smile first." The city started to thin. Buildings gave way to smaller houses, then trees, then stretches of land that looked like nobody had ever fought over them. "Boss," Marcus said, quieter now, "if this goes wrong—" "If this goes wrong," Bumpy said, "we'll know before they do." Marcus frowned. "How?" Bumpy tapped his chest lightly, where the wire lay flat against his skin under the shirt. "Because men who plan to kill you," he said, "can't help but practice it in their head. And men who practice something too long always show it on their faces." Willie's eyes met Bumpy's in the rear view for half a second. "You sure that little toy's worth the risk?" Willie asked. "I'm not betting on the toy," Bumpy said. "I'm betting on what it makes them do when they find out it exists." They turned off the main road onto a narrower lane. Trees gathered overhead, branches meeting like conspirators, shutting out the sky. Ahead, a gate, stone pillars, iron bars. Two men in dark coats. Willie rolled down the window, letting in air that smelled like wet leaves and rich people's dogs. The nearer guard stepped forward, expression already annoyed. "Name," he said. "Ellsworth Johnson," Bumpy answered from the back seat. The guard's eyes flicked to him, then to a clipboard. He found what he was looking for. His jaw flexed once. "Out of the car," he said. Willie's hands tightened on the wheel. "We're expected," he said. "Out of the car," the man repeated. "House rules." Bumpy tapped Willie's shoulder. "We follow their rules at the door," he said. "That way they recognize ours at the table." They stepped out into the chill. Leaves whispered overhead. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked once and was silent. The pat-downs were thorough. Hands slid down Marcus's sides with that special kind of disrespect reserved for young black men in expensive suits. Willie took it like a man who'd done this 1,000 times and never once liked it. When they got to Bumpy, the guard hesitated for a half-second, just long enough for everyone to notice. He'd heard stories. The Harlem King, the man who'd made Dutch Schultz think twice, the man who'd walked back into Harlem in '63 like he'd never been gone. "Arms," the guard said gruffly. Bumpy lifted them, expression flat, eyes fixed on the man's face. The search was clinical. No guns, no knives, no metal except the cufflinks. The wire lay quiet against Bumpy's chest. The guard stepped back. "He's clean," he told the second man. "Car goes in. They walk." Marcus's jaw jumped. "We walk?" he said. "House rules," the guard repeated. "No engines up front. Nobody leaves fast." Willie opened his mouth, but Bumpy's look cut across the conversation like a blade. "We walk," Bumpy said. They moved up the driveway on foot. Gravel crunched under their shoes. The mansion revealed itself, piece by piece, through the trees. White columns, broad steps, big windows, already full of moving shadows. Marcus took it all in. "That's a lot of suits," he muttered. "That's a lot of problems that think they're solutions," Bumpy said. The front door swung open before they reached it. A man stood there, suit dark, tie simple, face composed. "Mr. Johnson," he said, "I'm Tommy Lucchese. Welcome." Lucchese's eyes were softer than Gambino's, more amused than Genovese's once had been, but there was nothing gentle behind them. Bumpy shook his hand. "Mr. Lucchese," he said, "appreciate the invitation." Lucchese smiled like they'd just discussed the weather. "These meetings can get spirited," he said. "Carlo thought you might provide a different perspective." "Different from what?" Bumpy asked. "From his?" "From ours," Lucchese said. "Come, they're waiting." The foyer was big enough to hold the club downstairs 3 times over. Crystal chandelier, marble floor, paintings of dead white men staring down from gilded frames as if all this belonged to them long before anyone in the room had been born. Groups of men stood talking, hands moving as much as mouths. Some looked up and stared openly at Bumpy as he passed, a black man in their temple. Some faces tightened, some turned away. A few gave small nods, respect, curiosity, calculation. Bumpy walked as if the building were his and they were the guests. Head up, shoulders relaxed, not fast, not slow. Without looking back, he knew Willie and Marcus were exactly 1 step behind him, 1 to each side. They entered a large room with a long table at its center, 15 chairs, 10 occupied already. At the head of the table sat Carlo Gambino. He looked like someone's quiet uncle. Slim, thinning hair, eyes that could have belonged to a shopkeeper. Only the stillness in his hands betrayed him. "Mr. Johnson," Gambino said, rising the bare minimum an inch from his chair. "Thank you for coming." "Seemed impolite to ignore a man with as many friends as you," Bumpy said. A few men smirked, others frowned. Gambino gestured to an empty chair halfway down. "Sit," he said. "Let's talk business." Bumpy glanced once at the chair, once at the men around the table, once at the windows, once at the door. He sat. Willie and Marcus remained standing behind him, backs to the wall. Gambino waited until the room settled. "3 years ago," he began, "you came back to Harlem." Bumpy didn't respond. He didn't need to. "In those 3 years," Gambino said, "a lot has changed. The city is different. The streets are different. Our arrangements are different." He folded his hands neatly on the table. "You have power now you didn't have before. Lines that used to run through our friends now run through you. Money that used to belong to us passes through your hands." Bumpy watched him, face unreadable. "In the old days," Gambino said, "this would mean war. But war is bad for business. The police get excited. The papers get loud. So we are here to do something smarter." "And what's that?" Bumpy asked. "Redraw the map," Gambino said simply. He nodded toward a stack of papers at his elbow. Someone slid copies down the table. Territory charts, numbers, names. "The Colombos," Gambino said, "want a piece of the new heroin lines on 125th. Lucchese wants the trucks on your avenues. We want a tax on your policy banks in exchange for insurance." "Insurance from who?" Bumpy asked. Gambino's eyes held his. "From us," he said, a slow, thin smile. "And from anyone else who might get ideas." Bumpy let the silence sit a beat too long. "You boys get together in a nice house on a Sunday," he said, "to tell me you want protection money?" "This is not a shakedown," Lucchese said calmly. "It's a partnership." "Funny," Bumpy said. "Every time someone offers to be my partner, I'm the one who ends up feeling married." A few men chuckled despite themselves. Gambino's smile didn't move. "You've survived a long time, Mr. Johnson," he said. You know how this works. Small men fight over blocks. Big men divide cities. We're offering you a place at the table." "You're offering Harlem a place on the menu," Bumpy said. The temperature in the room shifted. Colombo leaned forward, thick hand flattening on the table. "You think because you got a few black junkies paying you $10 a day, you can talk to us like that?" he snapped. Bumpy still didn't look at him. "In Harlem, Mr. Colombo," he said, "we don't call them junkies. We call them neighbors. That's the difference between you and me. You see product, I see people." "This is sentimental," someone down the table muttered. "No," Bumpy replied. "This is business. You start carving us up on paper without asking, that's bad business. You come up here, threaten me with partnership, that's worse business." Gambino's fingers tapped the table once, then stopped. "You misunderstand," he said. "This is not a threat. If it were a threat, you wouldn't need a suit." "So what is it?" Bumpy asked. "A warning," Gambino said quietly. "The times are changing, Mr. Johnson. The government is learning words like RICO and conspiracy. The streets are getting louder, riots, marches, kings being killed. Every man at this table is going to have to decide who he stands next to when the storm comes." He laced his fingers together. "Harlem can stand with us," he said, "or without us." Bumpy almost smiled. "In my neighborhood," he said softly. "When a man tells you you're better off next to him during a storm, that just means he doesn't own an umbrella." A few men shifted uncomfortably. Gambino's eyes cooled. "You think you can fight the government alone?" he asked. "You think they won't come for you next after they're done with us?" "Oh, I know they'll come for me," Bumpy said. "The difference is, when they do, my people will know exactly who sent them papers. Can your people say the same about you?" Lucchese raised a hand, his voice cutting through the tension. "This is unproductive," he said. "We didn't invite Mr. Johnson here to trade insults." "You invited me here to test my temperature," Bumpy said. "See how soft prison made me. See if I wanted a seat so bad I'd sell my block for it." He leaned forward, voice low but sharp. "You all still think the world works like it did in 1940. You sit in a room, slide paper, divide streets. But the streets don't read your paper. They don't vote in your meetings. They listen to who feeds them, who buries their dead, who keeps the cops from kicking in their doors for nothing. In Harlem, that ain't you. That's me." Colombo slammed his hand again. "You hear this?" he barked at Gambino. "He's telling us go to hell." "No," Bumpy said. "If I told you to go to hell, I'd be giving you directions. I'm just telling you to stay out of my house." The room rippled with sharp breaths. A few men touched the fronts of their jackets where guns would have been 10 years ago. Gambino didn't move. "You're very sure of yourself," he said, "almost like you think you're holding a card we don't know about." Bumpy held his gaze. "Carlo," he said quietly, "do you know what the difference is between me and every man at this table?" Gambino waited. "Every one of you," Bumpy said, "is one subpoena away from your men finding out who you really are. One bug in the wrong room, one microphone under one table, and all those soldiers who think you're untouchable get to hear you begging some senator for protection." He let that hang in the air. "Me," he said. "Every man in Harlem already knows exactly what I am. I don't have to worry about anyone hearing the truth. That's why I'm not afraid of wires." Something behind Gambino's eyes shifted. Just a flicker. Marcus, standing behind Bumpy, saw it. The wire on Bumpy's chest might have been made of glass in that moment. It felt that fragile. Gambino said nothing for 3 seconds. Then he smiled without warmth. "Is that right?" he asked. "You're not afraid of wires?" "Why would I be?" Bumpy said. "Only men with something to hide need silence." Gambino's gaze slid to a man at the far end of the table. A thin, nervous Genovese capo, eyes always a little too wide. "How about you, Frankie?" Gambino asked softly. "You afraid of wires?" Frankie choked on nothing in particular. What are you talking about?" he stammered. Gambino's smile sharpened. "State police pick you up twice last year," he said conversationally. "Twice they let you walk like a priest without sin. I was wondering why." All eyes turned to Frankie. Color drained from his face. I don't know what you heard." Gambino's voice stayed soft. "There's only two reasons they let a man like you walk," he said. "Either you're too small to matter, or your mouth is too busy." Lucchese watched, expression closed. Colombo's jaw worked. Frankie looked from face to face, panic rising like tide. "I swear," he said, "I never." Gambino cut him off with the slightest lift of his hand. "I don't like questions," he said. "They make me nervous, and when I'm nervous..." For the first time, Gambino's hand moved inside his jacket. The room held its breath. Bumpy shifted in his seat, ready to move, ready to die, ready to do whatever came next. Gambino's hand came back out, empty. He flattened it on the table. "Sit down, Frankie," he said quietly. "We'll talk another time." The relief that crashed across the room was almost as loud as the band downstairs in Smalls. Bumpy saw it, the way eyes darted away, the way shoulders slumped. For a moment, every man at that table had glimpsed the edge of his own grave. He filed it away. "So this is how you keep them in line," he said. "This is how I keep us alive," Gambino replied. He leaned forward now, all pretense of charm gone. "You want to walk out of here tonight, Mr. Johnson?" he asked. "You make a choice. You either stand with us or you stand alone. But you do not stand in our way." Bumpy sat back. In his chest, the tiny microphone hummed silently, drinking in every word. "Carlo," he said softly, almost kindly, "you still don't understand." He rested his hands on the table. "I've been alone my whole life," he said, "and I'm still here." He stood. "Harlem is off the table," he said. "You come for it anyway, you won't get a war. You'll get something worse." "What's worse than war?" Colombo demanded. Bumpy looked at each of them, one by one. "The truth," he said. He turned toward the door. "Sit down," someone snapped. Willie stepped forward, and suddenly he wasn't just Big Willie the driver. He was 10 years of war and alleys and backdoor shootings rolled into one heavy silhouette. Marcus's hand brushed his jacket once. Instinct, remembering there was nothing there this time. Gambino raised his hand again. "Let him go," he said quietly. Colombo swung toward him. "Carlo, let him go," Gambino repeated. "He's right. We can't kill him here. Not now." "Why not?" someone demanded. "He's one man, 3 with his boys." "Because somewhere," Gambino said, eyes still on Bumpy, "somebody is listening." The room went dead silent. Bumpy froze for half a heartbeat. Then he smiled. "Smart," he said. He tapped his chest gently. "Too bad you realized it late." He walked out. They didn't speak until they were back in the Cadillac, rolling down the long driveway, the mansion shrinking in the rear view. Willie drove. Marcus stared straight ahead. Bumpy reached into his inside pocket, took out the transmitter's on-off switch, and flicked it. "For the record," he said, "you two did good. You didn't twitch when I thought you'd run. That's worth something." Marcus exhaled like he'd been holding his breath since Harlem. "Boss?" he said, voice hoarse. When he talked about wires, he was guessing, Bumpy said. He didn't know, not for sure. Paranoia is a powerful thing. You give a man one reason to doubt the people around him, he'll build the rest of the story by himself. Willie's eyes met Bumpy's in the mirror. "Boss?" he said slowly. "You sure them FBI boys ain't gonna hang you with that tape too?" "Oh, I'm sure they want to," Bumpy said. "But they can't, not if they want it to work." "How's that?" Marcus asked. "Because the only reason that tape is worth anything," Bumpy said, "is if the men on it think I'm the only one who's got it. Soon as the Bureau plays it in court, they lose their toy. The fear stops working. Carlo will know it wasn't just me burning him, it was them." He smiled a little, and Carlo don't like being burned. They reached the main road. Willie turned south, toward the city, toward Harlem, toward noise and lights and crowds and everything that made sense. Marcus looked back once at the trees closing behind them, hiding the mansion from sight. "They'll come back, won't they?" he asked. "Try something else." "Maybe," Bumpy said. "Maybe not." He rested his head back against the leather. "That's the thing about men like Gambino," he said. "You don't scare them by pointing a gun at their head. You scare them by pointing a mirror at their life. You make them see how fast it all falls apart if one little secret gets out." Marcus touched his chest unconsciously, as if he'd been the one wired. "What if they find out?" he asked quietly. "About the tape, about the meeting, about you working with—" "I didn't work with anyone," Bumpy said sharply. "I hired a service." He closed his eyes for a moment. "In the end," he said, "it won't matter who held the wire. It'll only matter who owns the silence afterward." The newspapers didn't say much. A paragraph here, a column there. Whispers of ongoing investigations. Anonymous quotes about new information on organized crime activity. No big headlines. No front-page pictures of Gambino in handcuffs. No dramatic courtroom sketches. But in back rooms, in social clubs, in restaurants where the lights were always a little too dim, things changed. Meetings that used to happen in large groups moved into smaller rooms. Men who used to talk with their hands talked less. Some soldiers disappeared quietly. Others retired suddenly to Florida. In Harlem, the change was quieter still. Illinois walked into Bumpy's office with a sheet of paper. "What's that?" Bumpy asked. "New numbers from 125th, Illinois said. "Lucchese boys packed up their trucks last night. Columbo's Shylocks pulled back off the avenue. Whole stretch is ours again." Bumpy took the paper, glanced at it, set it down. "Any word why?" he asked. Illinois shrugged. "Street says Gambino had a dream," he said. "In the dream, every time he looked south, all he saw was fire. So he decided maybe it was cheaper to stay north." He watched Bumpy. "They're scared of something," he said. "Don't know what, don't know who, but they're jumping at shadows." "Good," Bumpy said. He walked to the window. Harlem spread out below. Noisy, flawed, alive. "Boss," Illinois said, "that tape." Bumpy didn't turn around. "It's somewhere safe," he said. "With the feds?" Illinois pressed. "With me," Bumpy said. Illinois was quiet for a moment. "And if something happens to you?" he asked. "Then it finds its way into the light," Bumpy said. "And the men who thought they ran this city learn what it feels like to have someone else hold their leash." He rested his hand against the glass, watching the people move below. Kids running, women haggling, men laughing too loud. "You destroyed them," Illinois said softly. Bumpy shook his head. "No," he said. "I just gave them a reason to destroy themselves." He turned back to the room. "Gangsters can live with bullets," he said. "What they can't live with is the fear that every word they say might be the one that buries them. You take away trust, you don't need a war. They'll eat each other." He smiled. "And all I had to do," he said, "was walk into a meeting, say no, and wear a little wire." The chessboard on his desk waited, pieces still where he'd left them before. Patrone ever walked into his office. The Black King now stood in the center, surrounded, outnumbered, but untouched. Bumpy picked it up, rolled it once in his fingers, and set it down again, exactly where he wanted it. "I really want to know, where in the world are you watching this from? Drop your city or country in the comments. This story has reached viewers on every continent, and I'm always amazed by how far these legends travel. Drop a comment, share this story, let's debate it. If this story of loyalty, betrayal, and impossible choices hit different, drop a like and subscribe. This is the untold history they don't teach in schools. See you in the next one.